Okay. So
Okay, get this thing up for you all. Alrighty, yeah, we're gonna be, we usually wait a couple more minutes, but we're gonna be starting now because we do have a presentation today. It's probably gonna by itself take about 30-40 minutes. So we're gonna go over the updates for the last couple weeks, and then we'll jump into listing domination. Uh, First off, hope you guys had a great weekend. I know that we didn't meet last week. Um, For President's Day, I was in the office, I was working, but it was more so just trying to play a little bit of catch up. So today we have about 2 weeks worth of news. It's not much. I did cut off some things that I necessarily didn't think were going to be that important right away, so that we have enough time to jump into listing domination. And while I'm doing listing domination, of course, if you guys do have questions, just put them in the chat and I'll try to answer it as I go through it. But first off, CPI, Consumer Price Index, showed that inflation rose 0.3% from December to January, which was hotter than expectations, but CPI still fell year over year from 3.4% to 3.1%. Core CPI increased 0.4% and stayed flat at 3.9%. This is the reading that really got rates going is the core CPI that is since it stayed flat. PPI, which is Producer Price Index, which measures inflation on the wholesale level, also rose 0.3% in January, but fell to 0.9% year over year. So even though it's a very low number, the expectation was for it to drop to 0.6%. So although these numbers are going down, think of the market for bonds very similar to the stock market, right? When you think that a company's earnings are going to be good, you jump in early, and when their earnings come back lower than what you expected, you'll most likely jump out, sell what you bought. So it's the same thing when it comes to bond trading, right? The expectations that were set or people believe, they jump in a little bit early, and then when they realize it came in higher than expectations, you have a lot of selling that goes on, and that increases interest rates. Home builder confidence is at a 6-month high with a reading of 48. Remember, their readings are from 0 to 100, where above 50 signals expansion and below 50 signals contraction. So it's the highest reading we've seen in 6 months. And we're getting closer to that 50 mark. We'll probably be there by next month. Existing home sales rose 3.1% in January from December, which is a huge increase. Home sales are only down about 1.7% year over year from last January. And we only have about 3 months worth of inventory, with national inventory coming in at 1 million. And national inventory being at 1 million does not include any pending sales, which are usually about a third of that. So probably closer to about 700,000 national homes on the market currently. Make sure everybody's made okay, perfect. And then lastly, mortgage applications fell 10% from the previous week and are currently down 13% from this time last year. Refis also fell as rates shot up from that CPI report, and they're flat year over year. And rates are currently on average at about 7.06%. This week, there is some news coming out. It's PCE this week, personal consumption expenditure, which is usually the one that moves the Fed. So it's going to be very interesting to see where that comes in with the CPI readings that came in at 0.3%. And I think 0.4% was core. Hopefully PCE does not come in that high, and we see an actual decrease in PCE, because remember, that's the one that really is what moves the Fed. PCE essentially is what people actually consume, personal consumption expenditure. So CPI is just the movement of prices month over month, right? So if you have an apple, it's worth X amount, next month it's worth X amount. That's the difference in CPI. PCE is how many people are actually paying for that apple at that price point, right? Listing domination presentation. Most of you have probably seen this in the past. And most of you, it's probably new. So how to list and sell 25 plus homes per year. Definitely suggest that you guys take some notes. This is a very, very good presentation that I got when I went to a conference last year. And the guy pretty much dropped a lot of nuggets. I loved it. It was pretty similar to what I did in the past. And it is very pretty much one for one with what one of my friends does pretty much consistently. So how to list and sell 25 plus homes per year. The first thing that you need to understand and that you need to do for sure is your gratitude and affirmations. I think that's number one for everybody when it comes to business, is really just kind of sitting down, having your business journal, having your personal journal. You hear consistently within top earners in the industry, just making sure that you're writing down your thoughts. On the personal side, what you want to accomplish, good, bad, what happened at the end of the day, and then the business, your business journal for the ideas that you have that you don't want to forget, that you want to be able to go back into and look at and be able to grow within your business, whether that be business things that you want to accomplish, things like that. But also very, very important is just making sure that you are speaking life into yourself every single day, right? So some things that you can talk about when you're doing your affirmations and what you're grateful for, right? As long as I'm taking action, I cannot fail. Every rejection is a lesson with a valuable insight learned. I achieve sales success by doing my best. I am well compensated for doing what I love. I can sell by being 100% honest. I am unfazed by rejection. People naturally trust and respect me. Every rejection brings me closer to my next sale. When I do my best, results will follow. I am confident that I can win the sale. I can achieve any goal I set. I am a millionaire. I am a family man. I am, so on and so forth, right? Whatever you deem is necessary every morning should be different, big or small. So if you have 3 things that you write down today, try to switch them up the next day. You may have 1 or 2 that are always going to be consistent, right? Like, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire until you get to that point, right? So why focus on listings? First off, list to last, right? You definitely have way more leverage on the deal. Easier to build a team around for sure, right? You can have a whole team based off of just your listings where they do these open houses for you, right? And marketing things for you and things like that. Free listing leads, of course, when you're listing a property and you're going around the neighborhood, letting people know that you have that property listed, or your team is going around the neighborhood, how much you have it listed for. And then, of course, when you sell it, somebody that may have been interested in selling their home, be like, hey, this person already knows the neighborhood, and things like that. Free buyer leads, right? Talking about those open houses again, being able to market that property online as well. Branding is huge, whether that be locally within that neighborhood or online, basically showing your presence of being a listing agent. Okay? Oh, someone's got to me. Hey, just make sure you guys are muted. Yeah. Dollar per hour ratio is greater. Okay, so meaning how much you make per hour is much, much higher, even if the sales are the same. Why? Because you're spending less time usually doing a listing or being a listing agent on one specific home, as opposed to with different buyers driving around, showing different properties, things like that, right? So your dollar per hour ratio would be much, much greater because you're spending less time in the same amount of money. Okay. If you focus on a niche, you will also make more money. So pre-foreclosure, for sale by owners, expires, withdrawals, whatever that is your niche that you want to attack or focus. You can do that. Distressed properties with liens, things like that, right? That you really kind of mold your business around because you become the expert in that. You end up hearing the same rejections over and over and over again. And so you become much better with overcoming those objections, right? And then more freedom of time. This is your schedule, right? You schedule around when you can do that listing appointment, when you can actually go show that listing. It's not with a buyer when they call you and say, hey, I really love this house that you sent me, and it's Sunday at 2:00 in the afternoon, and they want to go see it by 6. And so you got 4 hours to kind of prep yourself and go before they go show up to that house, and the listing agent shows it to them and takes your client from you. So definitely having that option. I mean, I don't have to convince you guys, right? Listing is really the way to go, being a listing agent. So conversations, okay? I believe the best thing to do to get listings is to constantly be having conversations with people. I think online marketing through social media, Facebook marketing, things like that is usually great to attract buyers. And to really, be able to have buyers say, okay, this person knows what they're speaking about when it comes to the market, things like that. When you're looking at trying to list somebody's home, I believe that those one-on-one conversations, whether that be door knocking or phone calls, is usually the best way to go in order to be able to convert as much as you possibly can. So when you're doing that, right, you want to go for no. Yes is the destination and no is how you get there. So I'll tell you exactly what that means. Basically, let's say you should be having, like it says here, 4 hours per day, uninterrupted prospecting. 1 hour per day is a non-negotiable. So you want to really be focusing on, maybe you're starting at from 8 to 12 in the morning, 8 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon, and all you're doing is making phone calls for those 4 hours. You have your headset on, you're focused, and you're going through it, right? Those are your 4 hours. In those 4 hours, you should be trying to get anywhere between 30 to 50 no's, okay? You are not trying to get a yes. You're trying to get 30 to 50 no's. What does that do? Okay, it requires you to continue to pick up the phone and call people consistently. If you're trying to get a yes and you get one first phone call, you usually are satisfied and you end up finishing up your day right there. That's not the point of this, right? The point is to basically get into this habit where you're consistently, this is part of your everyday of what you're doing, which is making those phone calls consistently. Somebody's got a mute here. I hear myself like, who's the culprit? I don't see. All right. Right. So 30 to 50 no's, right? If you're doing 4 hours, it should probably be 50 no's. So if you get 10 yeses in between, that's great. You got 10 people that you have to set appointments with. But your goal is to do either the 4 hours per day or the 50 no's, whichever comes last, not first, last. So if you get 50 no's and you've only been calling for 3 hours, guess what? You need to call for an extra hour to basically make sure that you fulfill both things, right? Is the way you should look at it. So 4 hours per day. If you get to 4 hours and you've only gotten 30 no's, guess what? You got to keep calling until you get the other 20, right? And if you're calling for 4 hours and you only get 30 no's, I'm assuming that you got at least 15 or 20 yeses. Okay. So it's anywhere between 30 to 50, right? That you want to kind of look at, but that's the premise, is to think about, okay, I need to get 30 no's before I stop calling, or I'm setting myself for 2 hours today. So it's either 30 no's or 2 hours, whichever one, or whenever I fulfill both, really, whichever one is last. You can get anything in life that you want by prospecting, and conversations equal listings. And the fortune is in the follow-up, which we're going to speak about. Make sure that you time block, make sure you follow a schedule. What is your daily routine? What do you do on a daily basis, right? So you wake up, you have your affirmations, you take the kids to school. By the time you come back home, it's 8:30. And then at that point, you already have you're going to sit down, you're going to have your list going. By 9 o'clock, you're banging out phone calls, right? That's the way that you kind of have to look at your day-to-day. Should be very, very consistent. As being a business owner, right, you should have some sort of structure in what you're doing and not working, being reactive, but being proactive always. So good conversation activities. So what happens when you have a good conversation with a prospect on the phone, right? Whether that be a good conversation or not, in my opinion, that's a lead, right? If they answered your phone at some point, especially if you're doing pre-foreclosures, if you're doing FSBOs, expireds, withdrawals, those are people that are typically wanting to sell their home or will eventually sell their home or give it to the bank, right? If you're looking at pre-foreclosure. So at that point, that's a lead, whether it's a good conversation or not, right? So depending on the type of conversation you have with that person, depending on what you deem to be the follow-up points to that person, meaning an A person is somebody you had a great conversation with. You're probably going to get that listing appointment very, very soon, or you're pretty much already going to set it up with them ASAP. That's an A, right? A B is somebody who is pretty much right there on the fence, so you know that within the next 2-3 months, you're going to be able to convert them, right? And then a C person is going to be somebody that may take 6 to 12 months to convert. For whatever reason, conversation you have with them, maybe their kid is graduating from college during the summertime, or next year during right before summer, and that's when they're going to plan to sell because they're going to move to a different state, or they're going to move to a smaller place, or whatever the case is, right? Those are going to be your Cs. So you want to make sure that you have the correct campaigns, the correct pipelines for them. in your CRM, apply the correct stage for them, A, B, C. Apply the correct action plan. So if it's an A client, right, are you following up every other day? Because that person, they're going to be listing very, very soon. If it's a B client, are you following up every other week or every week? If it's a C client, are you following up once a month, every other week, every other month, right? These are the things that you need to kind of map out when you're looking and you're doing your campaigns for your clients, right? You should have A, B, C clients. And if you really want to be very, very technical, depending on how you are as a business owner and how specific you want to be, you may have D clients, right? And then same thing on the buyer side. And this is not a buyer presentation, but you should also have this A, B, C, D buyer. So that way they're always fitting the perfect campaigns, right? And they're being automated. A lot of times when it comes to realtors, especially being new in the business, you don't have that organization to where you're putting your clients and your leads. And so your follow-up isn't 100% there. Because at some point, if you've got 100 people that you've spoken to, right? If you're doing 30 no's a day, let's say, right? You're talking about at least 150 to 200 people per week that you are almost having conversations with. So at that point, you want to make sure that you are putting them in a proper pipeline. Okay. So once you have that good conversation, right, you want to send a good conversation video, email, and text. So the video is as soon as you hang up, you send on your phone, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it was so great to speak with you today. I'm so excited about being able to connect with you. I look forward to scheduling that listing appointment with you. I know that you were going to speak to your wife when she got home. So I'll be following up with you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. You send a follow-up email. And then within that video is also the text message, right? So that's 2 in 1. Connect on social media. So that's the next thing you're going to do, right? You want to be able to build rapport and build trust with these people consistently, right? So whether you use Facebook or Instagram, in my opinion, Facebook and Instagram are not where people go to buy products. Very recently, that has changed with TikTok shops and things like that. But usually people go on social media to really look at what other people are doing, essentially, right? And so at that point, it's for you to be able to connect on a more personal level, right? You find out that they have kids, you find out that they're interested in this hobby, that hobby, and that's how you get that personal connection, right? You message them, you say, oh, wow, I have a 2-year-old as well, right? Or I have a 6-year-old as well, all right? And you build that base level of trust. You want to add them to the automated home valuation reports if you have any, something like a HomeBot, something like maybe something that the MLS provides that automatically sent over to them. Send digital business card, right? Which you should have one. They're very, very inexpensive. And then send a thank you handwritten card directly to them. So what happens is, right, people say you need 7 touches to be able to convert somebody, right? Well, if you're doing all of these things, realistically, you've got about 6 that you're doing within the first week, right? You got your video, email, text that comes in that first day, right? That's 2. Connect on social media, that's 3. Okay. Send a digital business card, that's 4. Send a thank you handwritten card is 5. And that handwritten thank you card is going to take about 3 to 4 days to get to them. So after you've done these, which are all done pretty much within the same day or 2, 4 or 5 days after, if you haven't already gotten a phone, called them already to see how they're doing, they're going to receive the thank you handwritten card in the mail. So as soon as they start to forget, boom, they remember again. And then at that point, your follow-up tasks are also put into place where after week 1, they have an automatic text message that gets sent to them, or there's a task for you to call them, things like that, right? Those touches should be different and they should be consistent. So your pre-appointment, you've got the listing appointment, and now it's time for you to basically gather your things and make sure that you can crush it at the appointment. So there should be some sort of strategy that you have pre-appointment. So you want to have your pre-strategy session email, a credibility packet with the video, maybe explaining the credibility packet, which you could use Loom. Loom is good for sharing your screen and then talking about different things. And so I'll pull it up here for you guys so you can see what it is. The credibility packet is literally exactly what it sounds like, right? It's it is basically showing you off. If it's not you because you're starting in the business, maybe it's your brokerage, what they've done in the past, the amount of sales that they have, and things like that, right? So Lang Estates, this is the person that did the presentation, right? With over 16,286 real estate agents in the Metro Detroit area, how you select the right one. So this is your credibility packet, basically showing that you're credible, right? 31 million in sales volume in 2022, 110,000 served, right? Going over basically your own thing. You guys could all get a copy of this, right? What we can do for you. It's not about us, it's about you. So basically showing yourself off. There's going to have to be some reviews here. These are the different things that they do with the strategy session, right? Review property, ask questions, marketing plans, so on and so forth. Why choose us? Fast sale equals less hassle. List to sell price ratio, right, for the highest possible price, shortest amount of time. So all of this is basically showing yourself off. It should be, the reviews should be somewhere here. Okay. And then of course you have the reviews of people that have used your services or your brokerage services in the past. Remember, it's not yours. You could definitely use your brokerage, and they may have some good numbers to be able to show off. So you're doing that, you're explaining the credibility packet through Loom. And then you can send a video reminder that morning with a thank you. So what you want to do is that morning of the listing appointment, let's say it's at 2:00, right? Say, hey, Mr. Seller, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. Just confirming our appointment for today at 2 p.m. Hey, I'm stopping by Starbucks before I get there. Is there a specific type of coffee that you drink or that you like from Starbucks, so I can bring it over to you, right? And so that way you don't show up empty-handed, okay? Stock on social media. So before your appointment, if it's 2-3 days in advance, right, you want to see what their interests are, IG and Facebook connections, right? You don't want to go all the way down to 2022, 2021. That's a little bit weird, but you want to kind of see what their more recent pictures and stuff were, see what their likes, their dislikes are, because when you get to that appointment, you're going to need to find some sort of commonalities, right? Generate docs so you can move quickly at the appointment. Okay, so making sure that you have your exclusive rights to sale and agency disclosure package, all of that stuff, your complete CMA, and everything that you need already there. Okay, you can have it in an email that you send it to yourself or whatever the case is. Email yourself comps and active competition and generate the CMA, right? So you already have all of that stuff when you're at the appointment. You don't want to be going through and trying to do all of that stuff while you're there. Okay. Full realist report, and then the prior listing if applicable. So if this was an expired, right, you'll have the prior listing up. You'll be able to have that information as well as the full realist report. BSA Online allows you to pull liens and permits for some cities and counties, not all. So this is a website, BSA Online. Doesn't have a lot of cities within Broward and Miami-Dade. But if you are listing within that city, you can get lucky and be able to pull any sort of liens and permits using BSA Online. If there's another software that you guys know of that you guys would prefer to use, put it in the chat so that way everybody else knows, because I've tried BSA Online before and I think it only has like 6 or 7 cities in Broward. And then you should have 4 exclusive rights to sale and agency disclosure packets always be ready. Okay, you don't know if when you get there your laptop ends up crashing or whatever the case is when you're doing your presentation or something like that. So you want to have the hard copy just to get ready to make sure that there's no excuses and you get that thing signed right away. During the appointment, you want to get there 15 minutes early so you are never late. Okay, first impressions are always the key. If you're late, no matter how good, no matter if you did everything else that I'm telling you on here, if you're late, that's it. Your credibility completely goes down, right? Because it's the first time that you're meeting this person and you're already showing up late to the listing presentation is usually not a good look. Mentally prepare yourself in the car beforehand, right? So we talked about the affirmations, right? Making sure that you are listening to music that gets you going, or podcast, or the Calm app, or whatever kind of gets you into a mood to be able to focus and out of your own way.
I would not respond. What's the name? I can't. Not for all them hours. Pretty sure. I'm more than
somebody that's in here not read it.
What's the price point?
It's a round trip.
Affirmations, listening to music that gets you going. Bring a treat, like I mentioned, right? The coffee, the cookies, or dessert, depending on where you're going to stop by beforehand, but making sure that you're putting that into your time frame for being there at the appointment. When they open the door, immediately shake their hand and make eye contact, and you should know what their eye color is. So you want to look directly into their eyes. have a firm handshake. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. And now you want to lead the way through the house as if you're a buyer walking in for the first time, right? Build rapport, find commonalities, look around. You want to take pictures, short video clips on things that you could see that'll probably be able to help them improve, or things that are selling points for them, so that you're able to have those conversations with them after, right? So you're walking around as a buyer for the first time, looking at the house, looking at different things, the kitchen, how it's set up, right? If there's dirty dishes, if not, all of that stuff, when somebody comes to view the house, right? Those are subconscious things. So you look at it as if you're a buyer, and what you find that you like, don't like. And that way, those are conversations that you're having once you get the listing agreement signed. All right. Treat them as if they're already your client. Okay. That's very, very important. Making sure that it's not, you're trying to earn the business, you're trying to show them, exactly what you do and who you are. And then sit down at the table and go over your discovery and criteria questions for a minimum of 10 minutes, right? Going over the questions, and making sure that they're answering everything as specifically as they possibly can. And they're not giving you short-ended answers, that there's more information that kind of comes with it. So this is your criteria questions, your discovery questions, right? You can do something that's similar to this, create your own, but this is basically what it is, right? I had a pre-list package emailed to you yesterday. Have you had a chance to review it? Right, that's what includes your credibility packet and things like that. If so, did you have any questions about it? Tell me again your main reasons for selling this property. Do you need to sell before you buy? What's important to you about selling? What would having selling at this price point do for you? What would having selling at this price point mean for you, right? How would you feel if we could make that happen for you? What is the most important to you? Timing, pricing, or convenience, so on and so forth. So you would kind of go over these questions in detail with the client, making sure that you are going through every single question. Yes, Lakendra, you can. Set lockbox on the table when you get there, right? You're making sure that you're basically showing that this is your client, right? This is your listing. Dig deep, run through every question on the list, right? We went over what's important to you about what would having that do for you, what would having that mean for you. What is the price that you have in your mind? Where do you come up with that number? Right? Detailed notes while active listening. So this is very important too, as you're going through those discovery questions, right? You want to make sure that you're reiterating what they're saying and you are participating in active listening. A lot of people talk want to listen to be able to give a response. You want to really be able to digest what they're talking about, especially when it comes to the discovery and criteria questions, because these are going to get, this is really what's going to set the framework for you moving forward with the listing once you get it secured, right? So if they say, I want to sell this property because my son is going to college next year in Texas, and I want to be able to purchase somewhere near the campus so that way you can come visit me all the time. Or I want to sell this because I'm an empty nester, everybody else left, and I want to downsize, right? So, okay, that's great. So your son is moving to Texas next year, and you want to buy somewhere over there in Texas. What college campus is he going to, or what college is he attending, right? The conversations that you have, scholarship. Did he get a scholarship? Is it, or is it more academic? Is it sports, right? Kind of opening up and building rapport with that person based off of the answers that they're giving you, and making sure that you're reiterating, right? I want to move because I'm an empty nester and I want to downsize. Okay, so you want to downsize. All right, what are you thinking about when it comes to downsizing, right? You're looking for a 55 older community or just a nice little property for yourself, right? So rephrasing and reiterating often is very, very important to practice and to engage in active listening, and always make them feel heard, right? Empathy is a big key when it comes to selling these properties. A lot of times, right, especially if you're doing residential real estate, these people have owned these properties for an extended period of time, right? Their family probably grew up in there, right? They have a lot of memories. So this is more emotional to them than anything, okay? Have you developed enough rapport? So you have a clear understanding. Oh, it says my screen is cut off.
No,
It's not? You guys can see
I can,
this?
Yes, we can see you.
You
Okay.
were only showing half of it, that's why.
Oh, that's weird. Does it show the whole thing?
Now we can see it.
Okay, okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Have you developed enough rapport? Do you have a clear understanding of their goals, pain points, and motivation as you went through those criteria questions, right? Do they trust you? Do you know their personality style, right? Are they a driver? Are they influential? Are they more stable, more conscious? What is the best strategy or plan for them moving forward? And what resources can you provide, right? So you're going to have your full listing presentation there for the property, what you typically do when it comes to your listings, the type of marketing you have and things like that, right? You can upsell with a commission menu if you have one. Commission menu is basically, let's say you have, 3 different tiers, 5%, 6%, 7%. Well, at 5%, what does that give the client? At 6%, what does that give the client? At 7%, what does that give the client, right? More value, the more higher they go up. That would be what a commission menu is. Easy exit and communication guarantee, right? Hey, if all of these things are not accomplished or are not fulfilled to the best of our ability and you feel like we don't meet these for you, there's an easy exit strategy for you, okay? Marketing plan if needed, right? What is the marketing plan put together for this property? Is it going to be on, blasted online on Facebook ads? Are you putting it in a specific magazine, right? All of these things are talked about, and all of this stuff you should be working on if you want to really kill it as becoming a listing agent, right? You show up to these listing appointments and you have a full listing presentation. You've done everything that I told you pre-listing, pre-appointment, at the appointment, and at the appointment you have a marketing plan for them. You have a listing presentation, all of that stuff. You're going to stand out above anyone else, no matter what, right? Pricing presentation if needed. Right. So pricing presentation would be, it's an expired and it wasn't expired because the previous agent wanted to, listen to the seller. The seller believed that their house was worth $100,000 more than it actually was. Right. So you don't want to automatically go and tell the seller, hey, I hear what you're saying, but your home is not worth that. Right. Well, if you have a pricing presentation put together and say, hey, I emailed you the previous MLS listing, you saw what the price point was and everything. Hey, realistically, I've already kind of showed you the CMA, what goes on in the area. Why do you think that your home is worth X amount? What do you believe is different on your property than theirs, right? Or than everybody else's, right? So you have this conversation. Oh, I saw my neighbor listed his house for X amount, and then you go, okay, is this the address? Yeah, it was listed at this amount, but it actually showed at this amount, and this is more or less where the pricing is in this price point, right? If you ask them where they, what their motives are, and you really dig deep with these questions, you'll always find the answers that you need, right? Very similar to Sell Me This Pen. I always bring this up when I'm doing this presentation because it is true, right? What do you do when you're going to sell somebody a pen? The real way to do it is to ask them what they're looking for when they want, or when they look for in a pen, right? When they get one. What do you look for in a pen? Oh, that it writes, that the ink never runs out, that it's easy to be able to hold, it's comfortable, it's smooth, whatever, right? Well, I have the perfect pen for you. My pen never runs out of ink, right? It's very, very firm to grip, right? Whatever the case is, what you're doing is just reiterating, saying, I have all of these things for you, right? Should always be asking, do you have any questions so far? Constantly as you're going through your presentation, right? Making sure that they feel like they're involved and you're just not going through the flow of things. So the trial close, what day and time would work best for photos, video staging, and consulting? So basically, once you feel like all of this stuff is done, right, and you feel like you've built that rapport and you got them, then the next thing you're going to do is say, hey, what day and time is best for us to do photos and do the video to start the marketing, right? Or if you're doing any sort of staging, right, or bring in the consultant for staging, whatever the case is, right? You're automatically asking them because being straightforward, it may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is usually the best way for them to lower their guard. And the question will always surprise them, right? Because remember, these are your clients already, right? This is your listing. As soon as you walk through that door, it's yours, right? That's the way that you need to think of it, and that's the way that you need to make the client feel as well. How does all this sound so far? Am I getting close to having a new client yet? Right? Immediately start filling out forms, start with the new client questionnaire, and start moving through the paperwork. So the new client questionnaire is this here, right? Name, address, if there's a co-owner here, what's the reason for selling? What are you looking to sell? Are you also looking to buy? When did you purchase the home, right? You're filling all this stuff, their mortgage, are they up to date on their mortgage payments? Different things like this. Okay, this is the client questionnaire. Outline next steps clearly, set up your transaction coordinator and your marketing for success. If you have a VA that does your marketing for you, or somebody on your team that can do the marketing, right? You're going to automatically start setting those things up. Tips to close more listing appointments. Keep in mind that this business is about creating relationships and building rapport. Come from contribution. Ask yourself every day, who can I help today? Okay. Building trust. That's literally all it is. Consistently building trust with these clients. All right. And if you're doing that over an extended period of time, to be honest with you, it's easier to build trust with B or C clients because you have more time to be able to show them what you do, right? A little bit more difficult to build trust on the back end with A clients until you get to those appointments, right? Which is why it's so important that you have all these things set up for pre-appointment, during appointment, because that is the time where you have to build as much trust as you possibly can with that client. So power of active listening. Effective listeners understand that words have no meaning. People have meaning. Most people listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. Right? We spoke about that. Practice being fully present at the moment. Demonstrate empathy. Avoid judgment. Engage in active listening. Active listening is always just rephrasing and reiterating what they're saying consistently. Okay. Put yourself in the other person's position and understand what they are saying or going through, especially if you're doing a pre-foreclosure listing appointment, right? People feel good when they know someone understands what they're saying. Okay, so that's the power of active listening. That all goes into that, making sure that you're consistently engaging with them, being empathetic to what their wants and needs are. The person who asks questions is the one who controls the conversation, right? Which is typically you. You don't want them to ask you, what services do you provide? What are you doing? What are you going to do to list my property, right? Those are answers that you're already going to answer, but you want to be the one that kind of asks the questions about the client and get to know them, right? Ask the question and then listen to what your prospect is saying to you. You need to be in control of the conversation when it comes to selling. You cannot sell your services until you know what their goal/motivation is. Once again, sell me this pen, right? What do you look for in a pen, right? What are you looking for to sell your home? What is that? And that's all in the discovery questions. What is your expectations for marketing? What is your expectations for, the listing price? All of that stuff is part of those criteria questions. Allow them to speak, but always be in control over where the conversation is going. You can do this by asking follow-up questions to any answers that they give, right? So if they answer, especially if they're a driver, right, they may just naturally be trying to take over the conversation, and you can always gear it by switching up the question and asking a follow-up question, right? Not just going through the list. Don't take answers at face value. Always dig deeper and be inquisitive. This goes back to the same thing, right? Making sure that if you feel like they're not giving you 100% of the answer, the best thing to do is just to stay quiet. Let that awkward silence sink in and see if they're going to continue to go, because they usually do. Assume comfort in any interaction. Ask for a small favor to get your prospect in the habit of saying yes. Yes, your first few questions should lead to yes, right? So when you're in these listing appointments, right, and you're asking questions for them or asking questions, they should always lead to yes. They should always be yes questions, right? If you want people to feel good, give them validation, rephrase. If you want to get a positive response, nod while you talk. Mimic and match your prospect's body language, tone, and rate of speech, right? Also very important. If you have somebody that is very more so a fast talker, right? To be able to match that rate of speech with them is another way to build trust subconsciously. If they're more slow down, relaxed, you want to be able to match that with them as well, right? Repeat your prospect's name several times during the conversation. If you ask someone a question and they only partially answer, just wait. They will always keep talking. Confidence is more important than knowledge. Fake it till you make it. To be persuasive, reduce the use of the words I think and I believe. Always be excited when meeting them, and stand up straight and always keep eye contact. Okay, so these are all tips that'll kind of help you as you're going through the motions of everything. But that is the presentation. I have my info. You guys have my info too, though. That is the listing domination presentation, guys. There's 33 of you in here. If you don't have the forms or you need the forms, just email me, emolina@highlandsmortgage.com, and I'll send them directly to you. It's gonna be the easiest thing because it does not allow me to grab all the participants that are in here and send it because I don't know. I know all you guys, but I'm saying I don't know who's gonna want it, who doesn't. So the easiest thing is just send me an email and I'll respond to that email with all the different things that we went over. All the PDFs. This is the last one too, the listing presentation, right? So this was part of when you're in the appointment, right? Pretty much it's the credibility packet mixed with what you've done, right? So guaranteed in 29 days or less, or we'll sell it for free, right? 2% commissions. This is what this offers. Top 5% local agent, right? Cash offer programs, so different things that that they provide. Fix and list is a service that they have. What their marketing plan is. They have an 89-point marketing checklist. They have an in-house marketing department, right? This is basically the listing presentation. Premier video marketing. This is an example. Professional house cleaning, 3-hour organizing session, all of this stuff. So you'll also get this listing presentation as well. But just email me. Can you say the email address again? I got you. I'll do you one better after that. All right, just email me. I'll send it over to you guys without a problem. It is 10:44. It was a relatively long Monday Mortgage Minute, but I hope you guys got some value out of it. We will most likely be back next Monday. Well, not most likely, we will be back next Monday. If you guys are going to Charlotte, I think only Miss Alicia Hayes out of this phone call may be going. I'll see you there. If not, we will speak next Monday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem. Have a good one.
Thank you.